2020 is almost over. I don't even know how to begin to describe this year. First off, this is my second time filming this video. I sat down for 2 hours, recorded this entire video. It was really hard because it was 2020, but I finally got it out. I went to edit it and this stupid ring light was reflected quadruply in my glasses. This year I got this stupid ring light and I was like, well, it's right here. It's easier than pulling out my box light. So I recorded it with my ring light and it looks like an alien spaceship is landing on my face the entire video. I didn't see in the viewfinder that was happening, but it happened. And she said some things that I know I'm not going to be able to say the same way. So get ready to see a lot of alien spaceship landing on her face, Christine. I'm at the end of 2020 and you could see it all over me. This year was simultaneously the longest and the most non-existent year of all time. From March onward, just blurred into one blob that stretched forever but also was over in a second. It could still be April and I would not be surprised. What surprises me is that it's the 26th today. How did we get here? Where did all the months go? I don't know. I saw a tweet that was like, how does this make you feel? March is in 3 months. It's mind-boggling because this all started in March of 2020. When I say this, I mean COVID and quarantine. There's been so many other shitstorms throughout the year. These videos are like a time capsule for me. A lot of stuff happened this year. A lot of moments that I'm just not gonna want to forget. So I'm gonna try to go through my year in order so that future Christine can look back on 2020. There are bright blips within the shit that was 2020 and I don't want to forget those because it's important to remember that there were bits of positivity that we could pull out of this year. Like, we learned shit, we're gonna grow from that shit. There's a lot of stuff we learned about ourselves from being forced to stay inside and sit with our thoughts for months on end. January 2020. Didn't know what was coming. I was apartment hunting, it wasn't going well, and I was on deadline for the first draft of my second book, which was not going well either. Everything in January and February that I was like, whoa, this is stressful, is vaguely laughable now. Like, it was still stressful, but as Christine did not know what was coming from March onward. Moving was just difficult because moving is always difficult. We moved in and I had an allergic reaction to the apartment. Something in this area, in this apartment, triggered all my vocal cord issues that I had in 2014, 2015. That's been like a traumatic nightmare that I've been fearing will reoccur since that happened because I wasn't able to speak for months on end without being in pain. But a little light of 2020 that came out of that is that I went to a bunch of doctors, found a really great one. I was put on a new medication and it worked. And they sent me to vocal therapy, which also taught me a lot of things about how to speak in a more healthy manner. So overall, something positive came out of that. We moved in, we were super excited because a lot of stores and restaurants are walkable. During that first month, we walked to a bunch of places together. We put everything on the wall. I made a scrapbook. John and I went to Natasha's for a little Oscar party. Oh, I'm so glad we did that because who knew that was going to be the last time we'd really get to have fun and hang out together all year. In February, we saw some movies. We saw movies in theaters. Bad Boys 3, Birds of Prey, and Emma before we locked down. I was on deadline for my second book, really struggling to finish the first draft. I was in a state of constant anxiety about it, constant self-doubt, and at the end of February, I finally was able to let go of the things that were holding me back mentally and fly. That was a beautiful thing. I was invited to do a talk at North Dakota State University, and that was happening the first week of March. It was very exciting. The week that I went was the week that the first few cases started showing up in Northern California. I immediately panicked because I was looking at all the news and I was like, wow, this is super contagious and blah, 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 blah. I remember talking to people on the East Coast and then being like, oh my gosh, you're overreacting, relax. And I was like, I'm not overreacting. Hand sanitizer is already gone. Okay, there is no hand sanitizer and there are no more Clorox wipes. This was before the lockdown, before any of that happened, those things disappeared. At the airport, it was like March 4th, there were no hand sanitizers. I flew to North Dakota State University. I had really great matcha bubble tea while I was there. The students I met were so kind and welcoming. We had a really fun chat. I got to wear a suit I've had in my closet for ages. That was the last event I did this year. The last and only? North Dakota had hand sanitizer still. The panic hadn't reached North Dakota. I get back and we decide that we're going to start self-quarantining. I remember for the first time going to the grocery store, wearing a mask and gloves, and I felt like I was playing dress up. The first time I went, I passed some guy in like a huge gas mask, and it was just scary. It felt apocalyptic. January and February feel like they exist in a different dimension. I feel like I moved into this apartment 10 years ago, and I've lived every second of my life since then in this apartment. I was supposed to go to Natasha's to celebrate her birthday. I had ordered her a cake. I canceled it 2 hours before I was supposed to pick it up. She canceled her birthday gathering. Everything was getting canceled, and we officially locked down in California the following week. BookCon was looming in May. Taylor Swift's Loverfest was looming in July. And we were like, oh, it'll be better by then. BookCon was rescheduled for the same weekend that Loverfest was supposed to happen. And then they were both canceled. BookCon and BEA were retired just like a month ago. That hurt. I learned how to make my own matcha in March. Stop going to Starbucks. I've gone to Starbucks every single day since I moved to my own place in 2015. I stopped because obviously we were in a pandemic. And I think I've saved money not going. But when we have moved past this pandemic, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I just please. I cannot wait to go back. I remember the last time I went to Starbucks, like I was scared. I was like, should I still be going? It was the week before everything shut down, but I was already self-quarantining. With April came John's 30th birthday, Animal Crossing. I got into a video game that wasn't Mario based, which is unheard of. I would play an hour every day, and it was this soothing release where I got to pick clothes and like decorate the house and catch fishes. Do you remember counting the days of quarantine? I remember posting on Instagram being like, we've been quarantined for 7 days! Oh, 7 days! I didn't stop counting till day 135. 135. And by that point, it was like, why the fuck are you even counting? There's gonna be like 365 days of quarantine. Hopefully, by next March, things will be looking like slightly safer. But I don't know. Who knows? We don't know what the fuck could happen. Who would have thought this would have happened? This year really made us realize how much we take for granted on a daily basis. Like, I took being able to run to the grocery store for granted so hard. I used to go to the grocery store every day, just pick up what I needed. And again, that was like a fun break in my day. Now I go once every 2 weeks. Sean and I alternate, and every time we go, it's a huge deal. Like, I still wear gloves. You have to mask up, come home, take a shower. When you're there, you're just kind of on edge. You don't want to be close to anybody. Sometimes there's people with their noses hanging out of their masks 9 months into a pandemic. You know how to put it on. I have done more online shopping this year than I ever have in ever. I'll go on and just grab whatever I need as soon as possible because it takes a while to get here. And sometimes you don't think through the purchase as much. And there's a part of me that's like, am I saving money this year? Or have I gone insane and become an online shopping addict? I don't know. I finished a second draft of my book on time for my deadline of May 1st. It was a great day. I did 6 drafts of my book this year, and I'm really, really proud of that. I was euphoric on May 1st. And then May 2nd, my emotions did a complete 180. My dog Chandler passed away this year. He was in New Jersey with my family. I wasn't there. And I got real sad. May, I started back up working on a project that I can't talk about yet, but I've been working on it slowly since last year. And progress was made this year. That was one of the bright spots. I was really just pushing myself in a new direction. It made me really proud of myself because it was something a little scary, but something I really wanted to do, and I hope to continue that in the new year and maybe get to a point where I can talk about it. We'll see. With June came a huge civil rights movement. I've learned so much about racial injustice and systemic racism, and I plan to keep learning and listening for the rest of time. In July, Taylor Swift gave us Folklore, my favorite Taylor Swift album of all time, and it came out on one of my favorite days of the year. I turned 30 this year. My best friend Katie and I were one day apart on our birthdays. We were both turning 30. Every year, like, we have to try to get to the same place for our birthdays, and 30 was gonna be our year. Hang out for a weekend and just go on adventures. But that didn't happen because of the pandemic. We were just afraid to go anywhere. 31 is gonna be our big year because that's also our friendship anniversary. We are going to celebrate our 10-year friend-iversary and our 31st birthdays. Hopefully, please let us see humans IRL next year. I got a puppy. Are you scared of that person? That's you. know. It's a lot of work. Now I'm like, how do I YouTube and write and dog mom? Whatever you're expecting, it's more than that, especially if you're in an apartment. Like with Chandler, we had a backyard, and with Chandler, I was a 17-year-old girl and I had parents. So I did not feel the brunt of that work like I thought I felt it. I did not. The week after I got him, I got my book back and I had 2 weeks for I think draft 5. It was the hardest month. I was a legitimate zombie. I was barely sleeping. I was just writing and taking care of the dog and cleaning it all the time. August, September, October blended into like a blob of Bellamy. In November, I handed in draft 6 of my book. That draft was so hard because it was the week of the election and I ended up staying up for like a full 48 hours the last 2 days before I had to hand it in, and I'm so glad I did because so much of the changes I made that I really liked were in that last period, and I was just like, matcha. It's crazy, I have a second book and the book comes out next year, 6/1/2021, up for pre-order now. I didn't go home for Thanksgiving for the first time ever. For the first time I had Thanksgiving myself. Me and John made Thanksgiving dinner. That was a little accomplishment. This past month, T Swift dropped a second new album, Evermore. My goals for 2021, I'm afraid to set goals, and I think we probably all are really kind of afraid to set goals for next year because we don't know what it's gonna look like. I'm just about 6 months out from the release of Better Together. That's scary. That's real. I've been author with 1 book out, but it feels like more real author when you have a second book out. I'm gonna be a sophomore author. I don't know how it's gonna be working on a 3rd book too. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes because the second book was really fucking hard. I have 2 things coming out next year, like Paperback Up Again But Better, which has an extra chapter in it and a pink cover, and Better Together. What we've learned from 2020 is that like you can't take anything for granted. Anything could happen. I want to get back on a regular yoga schedule. I want to keep doing therapy consistently, working on myself, growing, and I want to write my 3rd book. How do I summarize this year? Like, how do I close this? It was a very stressful election year. It was the year TikTok exploded into everyone's lives. It was the year of WAP. You remember the first time you heard WAP and you were like, whoa! One day I was like, I want to learn the WAP dance.
Now from the top, make it drop. That's some wet ass.
I looked so dumb doing it.
Coroni in a pot. That's some wet ass pussy.
But I had fun, okay? I had fun listening to that song. This year has been full of Survivor. It was my reprieve from the world. We had Survivor season 40 to look forward to every Wednesday. And then I spent the rest of the year rewatching old Survivor seasons, which was a delight. I've never done that before. I watched them all live. I finally watched Avatar this year. The Hamill film came out on Disney+. I gave a haircut this year. I gave 2 haircuts. Whoa, they weren't good. Home haircuts were all the rage, but I refused to home haircut my hair. Nope. It was a year without fashion. It was the year of the Queen's Gambit. It was a year of universal FOMO for our own lives, you know, for our regularly scheduled living. By this time, we're fucking sick of Zoom calls. Like in the beginning, I think we all made an effort to like Zoom call each other this year. It gets harder and harder as you get more and more sad about being in quarantine. And it's like not a conscious sad. It's just like, this is our life now. And we don't see anybody. And we don't talk to anybody. And everything is nothing. And I know it's not that, but it starts to feel like that with just the endless repetition. Just gotta take everything one day at a time. And that's what we've been doing all year. We've been taking it one day at a time because there's nothing else to do. We don't know what the future holds. And that's a lesson that we're all learning and processing and dealing with. So much is out of our control and we can only do our best with what's in front of us. If you're feeling really discouraged, like you probably are, I encourage you to try to make a list of little lights in your 2020 and the little things that you've learned about yourself and about the world around you. It's been a rough year and I am blessed in that I still have a job. So many more people have had it so much worse, but you know, no matter where you are in that spectrum, it was hard. Here's to hoping that 2021 is a little less difficult. I miss you guys. I miss seeing you at events. I miss my family. I miss everybody, and I'm sure you guys do too. Fingers crossed we're almost through it. Keep on keeping on. This too shall pass. We are going to be smarter, stronger, braver, and more resilient because we went through it. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in 2021. This is exhausting. Like, we're never getting back together. Like, ever. So I'm ending my writing day at 2:39 a.m. My book feels like an everlasting gobstopper. It's Sunday, April 5th. The days mean nothing. lives.
I'm on day 32 of self-isolation.
Still in quarantine. We're still in the perpetual quarantine.
I'm gonna finish this motherfucking book.
Bananas, oatmeal, butter, and slam.
What do you want from me, Christine? What are you doing, Microsoft Word? Just finish the Get the Better extra chapter.
Preferably hair. Better together. I love John Ambrose McLaren. This is a standing desk, you guys.
Don't call me kid, don't call me baby.
Hello!
They're 16.
The world moves on another day, another drama.
Yeah.
But not for me, not for me. All I think about is karma. What is your deal, man? Some days you wake up and you want to do nothing, and some days you wake up and you want to do weird, crazy, colorful makeup and talk extensively about every Shadowhunter book there ever was.
I just got to the end of my 4th draft. You guys, Taylor Swift released a second album. Midnight Sun is finally coming. I don't know what to do with myself. I did it! No, I just finished the epilogue. I did.
Not live from a room in Los Angeles. City, house of earth and blood. Chain of cold by Cassandra.
Got 12 days left till deadline. I'm just like going insane, rereading it over and over and over. Tonight at 2:30 a.m. I finally had inspiration for the rest, Christine.
Put in 2 books.
There's a new Taylor Swift album dropping tonight. I'm not here right now. I'm in another parallel universe where I'm playing all the parts, and it's just a lot. That was really good.
That's the beauty of it. It's really sad.
I watched you something from the passenger side. Is that right? Like,
I watched you swimming from the passenger side.
I don't even know what album this is.
I don't either.
I watched you singing from the passenger side. Is it passenger side though? Okay. I watched you crying from the passenger side.